Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. Subscribe now by going to the Listen tab in the ESPN app.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Back and better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And so, all day yesterday we talked about the Rams, the Vikings, the Saints, and those Eagles who were resting and smiling while their whole division lost. And we said, well, those are the NFC big boys. And then came last night when Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers took the field to say, hey, everybody, don't forget about us. Golic, that was a dominating performance.
Yeah, it was. They looked good. You know, a lot of people thought, and they looked like they're starting to round into that form we saw a couple of years ago, because the question was, who are they? You know, what is it? They've already surpassed the win total from last year when they had 6 wins. Now they have 7, and we know the previous year how far they got. And so which team was it? And they feel like they're maybe rounding into that team. A lot of it has to do with health. Luke Kuechly is on the field and still diagnosing and reading every single play before the snap even happens. And offensively, you know, Jonathan Stewart had not been running well. He did last night. Had some fumbles he'd had earlier, but last night he got it together. Christian McCaffrey is doing his thing. And Cam, just let Cam play. You know, he has been such kind of an enigma since he won the MVP He won the MVP doing Cam things, and then it was like, well, we need to protect him because he's taking these hits. He's not getting the flags, which he wasn't. We all saw that, and we all scratched our head about that. So it's like for his survival, he needs to run less. But when he runs less, it's not Cam. You know, and that offense doesn't move as efficiently. So Cam needs to be Cam. He needs to run, designed runs, not just scrambling, but designed runs. As I said, the read option is not going to be a staple in the NFL, but some players can use it to their advantage, and Cam is one of those guys, and he does it, and he does it well. So letting Cam do his thing, that's what you have to do. I know you don't want to risk injury all the time, but you can't kind of cage that guy. You have to kind of let him go. And when he goes, man, he is a big train rolling downhill and fun to watch.
Yeah, especially on that one long run that he had last night. And
he's running people on that.
It does bring up an interesting question, which is, for him and for them, what is the priority? Is the priority the short term, which is being able to maximize what you can get out of every play, every series, every game, or is it the longer term, which is you want to figure out a way that he can have a longer career? If you've got a player like this, if you can get 90%, 85% of all the good things he can bring you over the course of 15 years, or 100% of all the things he can bring you, but his career is going to be limited to 8 or 9, which way do you go? I understand the thinking behind that, which is if we keep allowing him to take this number of hits, no matter how effective he is, look, come 3-4 years from now, he's just not going to be walking the same. He's not going to be running the same. You've said it a million times. What don't you ever see? Old running quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, he's a running quarterback, and he's going to be old relatively soon, comparatively speaking. So I understand trying, as time goes on, to develop the other things in his game that will keep him from taking that number of hits. But there's no question, on a play-by-play basis, he's at his best when you allow him to do all that stuff.
Every year he was in the league, he had over 100 rushing attempts. Even the MVP year, 2015, was the most at 132. Last year he had 90 rushing attempts. This year he already has 74. So he's going to surpass the 90 and probably be over 100 again. I guess my thought on that, Greeny, is you can be smarter about it, but if you're trying to both and get cute, you're doing neither. So at some point it's going to lean. I'm not saying it has to be all the one way, but it's got to lean one way. And I think it's got to lean the one way of saying we have never seen a quarterback of this. Now, I played with a quarterback that could run and was an unbelievable athlete in Randall Cunningham. Just amazing some of the things he could do. But Cam's a house compared to Randall and can run. I mean, we haven't seen this type of player with this type of ability at the quarterback position to throw and to run. You got to let him do it. You have to. I get trying to be smart, but don't try and outsmart yourself.
Well, last night they certainly did it onto the Miami Dolphins. And let's start off the top right there. The Panthers had almost 550 yards in offense last night in a game in which they blew out Miami on Monday Night Football.
Yep, 294 yards rushing, 5 short of the franchise record. They have rushed for 200 yards in each of their last 2 games, the first time in franchise history. They've gone back-to-back of that as well. This was a game that was a 10-7 game at right before the half.
Yeah, and the interception that Cutler turns the whole game around.
It looked like Luke Kuechly was running the route. It was normally what he does. And so all of a sudden now they score with 19 seconds to go, and it's 17-7, and then the train just went down the tracks in that second half. They just steamrolled Miami, but that was a bad mistake before halftime. But listen, they have it all going on. Christian McCaffrey, first career multi-touchdown game, 1 rush, 1 receiving. He is really getting into his groove. It's a second consecutive game with a rush touchdown. He had no rushing touchdowns in the first 8 games. So he's getting acclimated more to that offense and all the different things that he can do as well.
You'll hear from some of the winners and losers in just a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers were down 23 points at the Garden last night on a night where there was fascinating stuff going on between LeBron and Enes Kanter and everything else. In the end, the Cavaliers came back and they wound up getting the win.
He erased a 23-point deficit, 4th largest comeback by a LeBron James team in his career. They outscored the Knicks 43-25 in the 4th. So let's dive into that one. Of those 43 points, LeBron James scored or assisted on 30. 7 of his 8 assists led to 3-pointers. Kyle Korver scored 19 of his 21 points in the 4th quarter. The Cavs' 43 points are the most by any team in the 4th quarter this season. Then you had the little dust-up with Frank Ntilikina, the rookie. We'll get into that, what went on.
He is but a pawn in the game of life.
He really is.
LeBron used him to get at Phil.
Yes, he did.
And then used him last night like a tackling dummy or whatever that is.
Enes Kanter did exactly, in my opinion, what Enes Kanter should have done.
I knew you were going to say that. I actually agree. We'll talk about that as we go. Meanwhile, if they had not given Aaron Judge and Cody Bellinger the Rookie of the Year awards, they might as well have just stopped giving Rookie of the Year awards, and they both won them yesterday unanimously.
Yeah, Bellinger had 39 home runs, most ever for a rookie in the National League, 3rd most behind Aaron Judge now and Mark McGwire. He led the 104-win Dodgers in home runs and RBIs. He's the first rookie since 1920, when the RBI was officially recorded, to lead a 100-plus win team in both categories. 18 of his home runs were the 7th inning or later, so that's a clutch guy on down the road. Judge, the first Yankee Rookie of the Year since Derek Jeter in 1996. He's the 3rd player to post it. This is interesting. 3rd player to post at least an 8 wins above replacement WAR in a season where they're rookie year eligible since this award was first handed out in 1947. The other 2, Dick Allen in 64, 8.8, and, of course, Mike Trout, the king of WAR, in 2012, 10.8. Both players were Rookies of the Year. So you're right. This was the easiest award to give out. Cy Youngs are given out tomorrow. MVP's given out Thursday. I think managers tonight, right? Today or
managers
tonight?
of the year,
tonight. So
managers, the most devalued position in all of sports.
Off the top.
We can talk about that a little later. All right, the college football playoff rankings come out tonight, 9 Eastern on ESPN for the exclusive presentation, and a lot of things will get sorted out from here on in, but I'm just curious to see where they put Miami.
Yep.
And we talked about Michigan State jumped like 12 spots last week. Miami could go all the way. I don't think it's inconceivable that Miami could go. You could legitimize putting Miami all the way up to number 1. I don't think they will.
They'll go 2 or 3.
You could.
Yeah, I think they'll be 2 or 3. I think we have the right teams. Alabama, Clemson, Miami, and Oklahoma are going to be the 4. To me, where are they putting Auburn? The 2-loss team. I think Auburn is no lower than 6th in this one.
I think it also doesn't matter.
No,
they put Auburn
exactly
behind
right.
Georgia, ahead of Georgia, Wisconsin.
Exactly right.
It doesn't matter for them.
I think, just, to guess and hopefully be right, I think Auburn will be at least a slot above Georgia. But at the end, it doesn't matter because they're playing Alabama. The big winners over the weekend, Miami, Oklahoma, and Auburn. Also, I think Wisconsin was a winner because Notre Dame lost, I think, in an ancillary way. So going to be interesting. Still a lot of it may not matter much, again, with Clemson and Miami. We already know they play in the ACC title game. But Could Miami be undefeated and lose a close game? That could set some things up. As we mentioned, Auburn's already playing Alabama in that round robin with Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia that's going on.
If it were up to me, and it isn't, I would put Wisconsin 5, I'd put Auburn 6, I'd put Georgia 7.
I think that's what's going to happen. I do. The first 4, I think Alabama is going to be number 1. But, again, the first 4, the order doesn't really matter.
And then,
Off the top,
if you like college hoops, you know where to go tonight. ESPN has got a spectacular doubleheader for the 7th straight year for the top programs in college basketball in one building on one night. It's in Chicago tonight, Golic, and look at the team.
Yeah, let me kid me. Number 1, Duke. Number 2, Michigan State for the 41st time in the AP poll era and the 8th time in the last 20 years. But the 40th time, 1 against 2, and number 1 has won 21 times, 21-19 in this one. As far as Coach K and Tom Izzo, it's going to be the 12th time that they've faced off as head coaches. You know what the record is?
Don't tell me. The way you said that makes me think you're going to tell me it's 6-6, but
no.
I would have guessed Krzyzewski owns it, and I feel like I had Michigan State in the tournament at least 3 times, and that they lost to Duke. So go ahead, tell me.
Coach K has won 10 of the previous 11. 10 of the previous 11. And then the other game, number 7, Kentucky, number 4, Kansas. Kentucky and Kansas are the most all-time number 1, number 2 winning programs in college basketball. Since Calipari became the head coach of Kentucky, the Wildcats and Jayhawks have met 5 times when each is ranked in the poll. Kentucky holds a 3-2 edge in that.
All right, should be terrific to watch
Off
tonight
the top,
for early season college hoops.
Absolutely.
And you will hear Tom Izzo on this show a little bit later this morning as we get a chance to talk to him about the game tonight and just to thank him for all the years that he has been our friend on this show. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. More independent agents sell Progressive Insurance than any other brand. Find an agent at Progressive.com. Now that's Progressive. All right, the game last night, some numbers again. The Panthers rushed for 294 yards. Cam Newton had 4 passing touchdowns and 95 yards rushing. It is the 3rd time that a quarterback, since the merger, 3rd time that a quarterback has run for over 90 yards and thrown 4 touchdowns in the same game. 2 of the 3 have been Cam.
Yes.
The 3rd was Randall Cunningham.
Yes, it was.
Who you referenced a little while ago. Randall Cunningham did it in 1990, so we had Hembo go back and look.
Hembo didn't have to go back. I remembered it perfectly.
That game?
It was week 9. We destroyed the Patriots 48-20. If I recall, I think I shared a sack with Clyde Simmons. I think Reggie had another sack. 2 quarterbacks played in that game, Hembo, if I'm correct, right? Mark Wilson and Steve Grogan. I think Randall threw for over 240 yards and rushed for over 100 yards, if my memory serves correct.
You cracked me up.
Oh my God.
This is what I'm going to miss the most.
Clue.
Golic would never have remembered this game existed. You and Hembo put me up to this thing here. I'm the one who saw the stat in the first place.
Oh, I saw the stat when I came in. I just had no idea.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But it just got to be that is the comparison that you made, and it is. We were seeing. There have been other quarterbacks. If you had said others might have done this, I would have said Steve Young in theory could have done it. Fran Tarkenton in theory could have done it.
There were guys that were runners. I mean, Elway ran. These guys were really good athletes, but they were throwers first. When Randall came into the league with Buddy Ryan, and basically Buddy Ryan told him early on, look for your primary, maybe the secondary, if that, and then take off, run. So that was kind of kind of drilled into him early on to take off and run. Use your athletic ability. And, man, he had some athletic ability, but he had a whip as well. He had a great arm to boot. So when he became acclimated to that and coached along those lines, and we saw what he did when he went to Minnesota, I mean, the ability to throw the ball and run the ball, at that time he was the best passing athletic quarterback I think there was, with the ability to throw the way he could. But, man, he could outrun you and juke you. Again, Cam, while you saw him on that long run last night, can outrun a few. He ends up getting caught, but he is a fast player. Wasn't as fast as Randall. He's just so much bigger. I mean, he's just a freak. Watching what he does to throw the ball and then to run the ball. And all that yardage he gained last night was on designed runs, which is something you definitely can do with him and definitely something you should do with him.
He actually, as you mentioned, 95 designed rushing yards last night. He's averaging a career-high 7.3 yards per rush. That is the most in the NFL among players who have qualified. So we will most definitely put Cam Newton in the zone. Mm-hmm. Brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone with AutoZone. And our Lewis Riddick was watching last night, and he was impressed.
Things are starting to look up in terms of health. Cam looks much healthier. when Greg Olsen comes back. That gives him his weapon between the numbers that he hasn't had for a long time. 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, that's hard to replace. And look, with no Kelvin Benjamin and no real proven receiver on the outside, they need to be able to attack the middle of the field as much as possible. And when he comes back and you pair him with a guy like that, Ed Dixon, now you've got 2 matchup problems. And as Funchess continues to grow into a role as the primary pass catcher, as Christian McCaffrey gets more comfortable as far as his role as a dual threat, Jonathan Stewart can stay healthy and hold on to the football. Now it's starting to look like that team in 2015 that did go on a run for sure.
You know, you sit there, look at them. They're 2-1 in the division. They have a bye this week. Bye comes at a nice time. As I mentioned, they're 2-1. Their only loss in the division, though, is not a good one. They lost at home to the team they're looking up at, the Saints.
Right.
So they do have the Saints one more time, but they have the Saints in New Orleans. So they have the bye, then they're at the Jets, then they're at the Saints. So they have the Jets, and then they do go to the Saints, and then finish up Minnesota, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, and then at Atlanta for the last game. But they're starting to hit their stride. And as we've always said, it doesn't matter where you start. It matters where you finish. Put yourself in a position to get into the dance. Certainly they would love to win the division, and they'll have a chance. If both teams win the next week, New Orleans and them, or they have the bye, I'm going to say after they play the Jets, if they meet only one game down, they have a chance to even it up in New Orleans in playing them. We'll see. But they're hitting their stride at the right time, both offensively and defensively. And then, as Lewis said, you get a guy like Greg Olsen back. That really is going to help. But Dixon, I think, is doing a nice job in his stead. He had a touchdown catch last night. So we'll see where it goes. But they are definitely rounding into the form more of a couple of years ago than last year.
Yeah, and from 2 years ago, you look at the difference. That year, they led the league in scoring offense. That was the year that Cam just destroyed everybody. This year, they lead the league in total defense and in time of possession. They're running it. Last night, they obviously ran it like crazy. Mm-hmm. So it's a little tiny bit of a different formula, but one way or another, they look awfully good right now. So Carolina is worth paying attention to. And as far as the Miami Dolphins are concerned, a strange season takes a turn in the direction that probably seemed realistic. You know, they were an above 500 team when they made those trades. Yeah. And they traded away Ajayi, and they were talking about trading away Landry and making all these changes, but they didn't feel like an over 500 team. And so here's Louis Riddick again with his thoughts on what the Dolphins are looking at.
Adam Gase has a lot of work to do. Right now, there's going to be some hard conversations with Mike Tannenbaum in the front office as to what the heck is going on with my football team here. I can't cut everybody. I can't send a message to everyone. Someone's got to play. Maybe you got to get me some different players.
Say, talking about this for a team after week 7, Greeny, that was 4-2. 4-2.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with you. I think people did think they were exceeding expectation, but the bottom line is they were 4-2. They were getting the job done. They were in a 3-game winning streak of Tennessee, Atlanta, and the Jets before they had 3 losses in a row, Baltimore, Oakland, and Carolina. So, yeah, I think we're seeing now more of what we thought they were going to be. Remember that Jay Cutler was not their starting quarterback, and they kept referencing last night on the broadcast that Cutler came out of the booth. I mean, he never got in the booth.
True.
He never got in the booth to do anything before he was called.
He got rerouted from the booth.
That's exactly right. So, and Cutler had played a couple of good games. He had that interception right before half definitely hurt him, though. And Carolina did a great job by taking advantage of it. Defense not living up at all to their expectations with guys like Ndamukong Suh and a guy like Cameron Wake. Cameron Wake was just befuddled if you heard him talk after that game of what's going on. They're just so frustrated there. Not only of like what he said, what's going on the field, but off the field as well. It's not good there. It's not. I don't think it's New York Giant-esque because it hasn't gotten as public with what's going on there, but there seems to be some real disarray there.
Well,
for a team, the Giants were never in it this year. This team was 4-2 at one point before they trade one of their best offensive players away, and the coach is calling people out, and it's turned ugly.
But it was a mirage even then.
I agree, but they were still there. If you're a player, you go into that locker room, and you're like, you know what? No matter how we got here, we're 4-2, so we got a shot. But reality is really set in.
Fair enough. But the statistic that'll just jump out the page at you, if you look at the standings, the Dolphins' overall point differential this year, they're 4-5, is negative 87. They've been outscored in total by 87 points. The 49ers' point differential is negative 86. They're 1-9.
Yeah.
They're 1-9. They've been outscored by 86 points. The Dolphins are 4-5. They've been outscored by 87.
It is interesting.
Look, crazy come from behind wins against the Jets and the Falcons and all this kind of stuff. And look, you're right. They won the games.
Right.
So they were in the position to get things done. But they, I think, realistically assess themselves
I agree.
as being a paper tiger. And the first thing they'll have to figure out, to Lewis's point, who's their quarterback going to be? Ryan Tannehill, in theory, will heal. And are they going to now, with Gaze, hitch their wagon to him going forward,
right?
Meaning starting next year. And clearly, Matt Moore isn't going to be the guy. Clearly, Jay Cutler isn't going to be the guy. So, have you decided now? Okay, we're going to go with Tannehill and see what happens, or are you going an entirely other direction? And I don't know what that might be.
Yeah, I don't either. You know, what's going to be your deal at running back? You trade Ajayi away. Offensive line, you had some draft pick, but you've had injuries there that have hurt you as well. How much help can you give on the outside to the receivers? We thought this offense would be way more potent, in the defense not doing very well either. So yeah, it's not a great situation there. They certainly have some reshuffling to do there.
All right, we're just getting rolling here. We got a ton more football in the hopper for you this morning, including the issues between Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones, which continue to be, for me, incredibly interesting. I'm fascinated by that dynamic. I you know me and my sternly worded letters.
I know.
There was a sternly worded letter written yesterday.
They're going out. We can't just have enough where the players don't like the league and the commissioner and the head of the union don't get along. Now we got owner on owner.
Yeah.
I mean, holy
The owners
smokes.
don't like each other either now.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Congratulations, Mike and Mike, on 18 outstanding years. A couple of my favorite moments from the show. One is when Golic had to get naked. The other was when Greeny milked the cow, and the cow wasn't too happy about it. And lastly, on the record singing for the young OKC Thunder that featured Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden at the time, I had to bust it out because they made it to the NBA Finals. They may be young, but they're ready.
I'm going to say this. First, Jalen, thank you very much. And Greeny's now your problem.
He's the worst singer in the world. I was with him the other night.
I was going to say, with him, you have a step up in celebrity and in professional athlete and college and what his career was to mine.
And height.
But singing, downgrade.
Huge.
Downgrade.
I mean, colossal.
Yeah.
You are a very good singer.
Yeah.
He is a terrible singer. I reminded him of that the other night, but I had forgotten. You have to give him credit. He was singing about, I didn't remember. He hosted the show. He sang that song. He was talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder at a time when they had Westbrook, KD, and Durant. Excuse me, that is Harden.
Yeah.
And they were all incredibly young. And I don't remember exactly the conversation, but basically we were saying they're too young, and he's saying they may be young, but they're ready.
We had no idea what he was singing about because we were too busy trying to cover our ears.
He sung it so horribly. So thank you, Jalen.
Yeah, thank you. No.
Please stop singing.
Yeah, there you go. Mike and Mike reminding you, if you want to get in touch with us, tweet us at Mike and Mike through the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Show her how thankful you are this holiday season with a beautiful bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, you can get 24 multicolored roses for just $24. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
So I got to read you one of these tweets.
Okay.
So we were just mentioning a moment ago that we have brought a lot of babies into the world.
Yes, we have.
Idiot dads are sitting in these delivery rooms trying to get their tweets read on television by tweeting at us and leaving out the name.
Of the person doing all the work.
So here's a perfect one.
Okay.
Jeff Jefferson, or Jeff Gefferson, because he spells it with two G's, tweets, a lot of people have you on in the delivery room. My wife and I made a baby while watching your show. And then he at Mike and Mike.
Greeny.
Yeah. Why are you playing that music? That is in the delivery room.
No. Read that again slowly.
A lot of people have you on in the delivery room.
Delivery room.
My wife and I made a baby. I don't think that's what he means.
Made. So instead of
how many people do that in the delivery room?
Instead of they weren't in the delivery room. I think at home, instead of this music playing, all of a sudden they heard "Back and better than ever," and there you go. You know what I'm saying?
He's saying a lot. We have you on in the delivery room. My wife and I made the baby while.
Do I have to explain the birds and the bees of making a baby?
So now I'm reading that differently now.
Our show is their love music.
Well,
try that one on.
There is something kind of sexy.
Oh, no.
Do you remember the time that there was like I forget what they were, but you gave me these lines to read that someone was reading sexually?
Yeah.
and I was trying to
do it. Yeah. That was when you were trying to read. I remember you were trying to be cool for Snoop as well. Snoop Dogg.
That one was bad, too.
That was all. But these people use our show as their turn-on music. How about that? Yeah.
That one I find kind of hard to take.
Well,
one way or another, he still doesn't at the most important person. He adds at Mike and Mike, at ESPN Golic, at ESPN Greeny. He leaves out the person with whom he made the baby.
Let's be honest. It took him longer to tweet that than do the act. So
that's probably true.
Really worried.
Okay, Mike and Mike, back to business here.
Yeah.
You got LeBron, you got Enes Kanter. And again, poor Frank Ntilikina becomes just collateral damage.
What did LeBron say about me?
Well done. Sacre bleu. Hey. Qu'est-ce que c'est le problème? LeBron, I look up to you. There's a terrible French accent. But anyway, the point of it is that Ntilikina he's just trying to go to the ball. I mean, there's an inbounds play.
Yeah, that's all he wants to do.
LeBron is standing in the way.
Right there.
And listen, this is not the first time this kind of thing has happened. Many, many years ago, Jerry Krause was enamored with bringing Tony Kukoc to the Bulls, and Jordan and Pippen were resentful of it for a variety of reasons, and they played against Kukoc in the Olympics, and they annihilated him. They humiliated him. They just destroyed him. So this is not the first time we've seen collateral damage of current stars, but whatever. So the point is they get into it yesterday, and then afterwards, Enes Kanter says basically, you're not going to do that to my guy.
We fight really hard. We play with a lot of energy. But I'll tell you one thing. This team is really special. And you ain't coming to my house playing that water bottle flip game again. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are, king. What do you call yourself? King, queen, princess, whatever you are. You know what? We're going to fight. And nobody out there going to punk us. So we're just going out there, play our game. And I think we're just going to get better and better every day.
Good for him. 20 points, 16 rebounds last night. Again, they lost the game in the fourth quarter. But and again, he wasn't overly braggadocious about it or acting big tough guy thing. And even in that moment, he just ran down there and got in front of LeBron, in between his player and LeBron, and just got in his face. So I have zero issue. And actually, I'm happy someone did that and said that and does. And they shouldn't care who LeBron is in that particular situation. You're defending your teammate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he. And I wonder if LeBron, if he had it to do again, would do it a little differently, realizing that no matter how much he tries to say, I didn't mean to diss the kid.
He did diss the kid.
He dissed the kid.
He did. Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Home isn't just a place, it's a feeling that you're safe to enjoy the things that matter most. ADT lets you take that feeling with you. Whether you're at home, your business, or online, we help keep you safe. With security systems, home automation, alarms, and surveillance, so you can feel at home wherever you are. Go to ADT.com to get that feeling for less than $1 a day. ADT. Home. Safe home.
Back and better than ever. Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Two of our best friends over the many years of this show are going to join us in this hour. Mark Schlereth in just a second, and then Tom Izzo coming up at the bottom of this hour as he gets set Michigan State and Duke.
Well, that's
tonight.
the thing. It's the best of both worlds. We can reminisce with both these guys, but then talk sports. You know, Mark's doing a great job, where Fox calling games. He does fantastic with that.
I cannot tell you.
Yeah.
Every time that they go to his game, I watch most of the NFL Sunday on Red Zone, as I know you do too.
Yep.
Every time they go to his game, I get excited.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so excited to hear him talking, and he's working with Dick Stockton, and he's terrific.
Doing a great job. I think they Cincy and Tennessee this past
That's right.
Sunday.
They did. They had that game. And
so that's great. And then obviously Izzo, with how long he's been on this show, and they have obviously a monster game tonight. So we're getting the best of both worlds with these guys.
The year that I had to do the dance, and I've seen this now a trillion times.
Right.
It's one of the things that I've saved. That my last words before I did the dance were, I blame you, Tom Izzo, because that was the year that Michigan State played Duke in the NCAA tournament. You had Duke. I had Michigan State. Right. That game decided the wager, and that was the year Izzo famously came on and said his son picked Duke to win that game, which was pretty funny if you think about it. And then as far as the LeBron and Cantor stuff, as we get set to bring Stink in here, we'll get more into that because it's not as simple as we made it sound. But at the end of the day, it can be as simple as it's never the wrong thing to do to stand up for your teammates.
No, that's exactly right. And I think in a general sense, too, when we asked Mark, who lived his life on a football field with me, you always go and defend your teammate, even though there are times when his team – he has always had the great line when his teammate – usually it was Shannon Sharp.
Sure.
Talked a little too much. It's like, you're writing a check that I got to cash right now. But either way, you're defending your teammate.
All right. I have been looking forward to this. We retired this song.
Yep.
And this song was never going to be played again on Mike and Mike.
Mm-hmm.
But for this occasion, it is our delight to bring Mark Schlereth back to the conversation the only right way.
He's moving right now.
Oh, yeah. He always gets that fun look on his face. I wish we could see it. He's now an NFL analyst at Fox. Our buddy Stink is back in better than ever. Good morning, Mark Schlereth.
Oh, good morning. That just warms my heart, guys. It warms my heart. Thank you so much. Great to be with you guys. I miss you. I miss both you guys so much. Miss the whole crew over there.
Yeah, listen, we miss you as well, and we'd love to be able to play that song again. We got another surprise here in a little bit as far as something to play. But first, what you're doing now, calling games, how, you're doing a lot of studio work, obviously, when you were here, but calling games every week, how different has that been? It looks like you're having a ball, and you sound great.
Oh, thank you. It is so, well, you did it forever, Mike. There's so much preparation work that goes into it. And then, I'm telling you, I reach out to everybody. I talk to Gruden. I talk to all kinds of guys. I called Troy Aikman about it. Because when you're in the booth, there's so much to look at. You can look at the game live. You can look at your replay monitor. You can look at your regular monitor. You're talking to your producer. You're trying to almost produce the game while you're watching the game. And there's just so much eye candy and so many things flying around. And the preparation work it's amazing how much goes into it. But I am having a blast. I think one thing that I've just kind of learned from this is as you're in the stadium and as you're at the practice facility and as you're talking to players, it gives you a different perspective again. It almost makes you gives you a better sense of empathy for how hard this game truly is. And sometimes when you're in the studio, it's easy to throw away a comment and say, the guy, he stinks, he's not playing very well, whatever. But when you're there, it just reminds you of how hard the game is and how hard these guys work and, how much they put in, how much they pour into the game. And you can lose a little bit of that empathy when you're in studio and you're not actually there at the site. So I've really enjoyed, being there, talking to the coaches, getting the information, but just really watching the guys play and watching them work. And that's something that's really been eye-opening again for me. It's been a blast to be in the stadiums.
So we haven't had a chance to check in with you really through this football season, or at least not for quite some time. So as we sort of work our way here through November, Stink, give us just a couple of top-line things that are standing out for you. We see the Eagles right now having the enormous season they are. Brady at the age of 40 doing what he's doing on the opposite end of the spectrum. The Giants, it felt like almost had a mutiny and a revolt and all the other things that are going on. What are the top-line things that have your eye right now?
Yeah, no doubt. All those things are amazing. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots stayed here in Denver after they shellacked the Broncos. And, I've been wanting to go down to Colorado Springs, but I'm afraid that Brady still has that restraining order on me because, I've got a man crush on him. So I have, I got to be careful about traveling south to Colorado Springs 45 miles and hanging around where they're practicing down there at Air Force. But, it's been amazing. I got a chance to call a Rams game and to talk to Sean McVay. And as soon as I got done talking to Sean McVay, I said I would hire him right now. For whatever I need to hire him for, I would hire him. Such a dynamic personality, tied into the football aspect. It's not just about what we're going to do. It's what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, and why we're going to be successful doing it that way. And, it is so demonstrative, and he has just been such a dynamic guy. And then surround himself with guys like Wade Phillips, where he just is like, man, I truly believe this. I want to surround myself with smarter people than me because that's what's going to make my football team great. So having the opportunity to be around that guy and see what that has done and what the Rams have been able to accomplish has been eye-opening. I think the other thing for me, Greeny, is, we always asked about where's that next tier of great young quarterbacks. Man, we're watching great young quarterbacks develop. Unfortunately, Deshaun Watson is hurt, but we got to see him. What Dak Prescott's been able to do. Obviously, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff that I just talked about. All these years we've been talking about the guys that are elite, the Bradys and the Rodgers and the Breezes, and they're still doing it at such an incredibly high level. But we've got a group of young quarterbacks who are already approaching elite status in their first year, second year, third year, and it's pretty amazing to watch this group of young quarterbacks develop.
One of the other teams, with the young quarterback, Jared Goff, obviously being the team you just talked about, but then you get some of the old-timers as well. And one of the other surprises, I think the two biggest ones in the NFC are certainly the Rams and then the Saints. And you could talk to it from your perspective as an offensive lineman, because I know you guys, and I know you guys would much rather run block than pass block. And here's a team in New Orleans now. You look at last year when Drew Brees threw it 674 times and they ran it just about 400 times. This year, they're almost split 50-50. So not only are they more successful, Stink, but I would imagine that group up front, which has to be the most cohesive group out there, has to be very happy going forward out of their stance instead of backward out of their stance more.
Well, there's no question about that, and everybody asks about pass protection. We saw Adrian Claiborne for the Atlanta Falcons get 6 sacks the other day, and apparently they don't have. It just goes to show you how good Tyron Smith is, right? Because apparently they don't have anything that says in their playbook, here's how you help your left tackle, because apparently they never help their left tackle. I mean, I'm watching it going, I felt sorry for the kid. Like you got to have. How about a chip or run a tight end over there? Or how about just not throw the ball? And the best way to protect your quarterback is to never throw the damn thing. And the Saints, at their core, Sean Payton loves to run the football. Remember, now, he's cut from the cloth of Bill Parcells, and he still consults with Bill Parcells, and he's always wanted to run the ball. And you go back to their Super Bowl year, they were like 6th in the league in rushing. Now, 3 different backs did it. And here's the crazy thing. They're doing that, and they're running the ball like they're running it, and they got rid of Adrian Peterson. Like, yeah, you're not, you just don't fit here. Go away. We're going to do it with these guys. And it's a thing of beauty, because to really protect your quarterback and to really be good in pass protection, you have got to, short set. You have got to, have the 5-step drops and the all goes and those things that get the ball out of your hand quickly. But you've got to be able to run the ball, and you've got to have the threat of run in 3rd down and 4. And you know how frustrating it is, Mike, as a defensive lineman, when it's 3rd down and 4 and you're licking your chops and you're ready to you're ready to rush the passer, and all of a sudden you get a shorty trap and you get ear-holed by the opposite guard, and they cut right up underneath you, and they get 5 yards on 3rd down and 4, 3rd down and 3, and all you wanted to do was try to get to the quarterback. And so that's a frustrating thing, and it's a way to slow down a pass rush. And the teams that understand that, and this is a day and age, remember, where every rule is bent towards throwing the ball, so, there's a lot of excuses. Most offensive coordinators don't want to run the ball. They just refuse to run the ball. It's not that they can't, and you hear the excuse all the time, well, it's an 8-man box, we got one-on-one on the outside, we got to throw it. No, you don't. You don't have to throw it. You can run the ball, and if you're committed to doing it and doing it the right way, it's amazing how much more lifespan you're going to get out of your quarterback doing it that way. So tip of the cap to Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints, because they're playing great football right now, and they have great balance. That's Mark Schlereth, who for 15 years on this show has advocated running the ball.
Yes, he did. Yes, he has.
For all these years. One more on football, and then I just want to get into reminiscing a little bit. But obviously, I have a personal interest in one of the quarterbacks there in Denver. For those that obviously, Stink still lives there. Does the local show there as well. And Trevor Siemian had that starting job for a while and struggled, and they replaced him, and now it's been Osweiler, and that hasn't gone well, and maybe it'll be Paxton Lynch. What is your gut instinct of what the future of the quarterback position is for the Broncos? Next year, week 1, are any of those 3 guys the starting quarterback for the Broncos?
No, they're going to move. I think they're going to move in a different direction, and it looks from where I sit like they've already moved on from Paxton Lynch. I don't know. He's injured right now. It was started off as a 2-week injury, became a 6-week injury. Now it's an 11-week injury, and Vance Joseph said he's still not ready to go. And, it's been disappointing, because early in the season, Trevor Siemian, and I really like Trevor Siemian. I think Trevor Siemian's a good quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback, but like a lot of quarterbacks, like 22, 23 quarterbacks in this league, you've got to support that guy. You cannot just ask that guy to drop back 40 times and throw it. And if he does, he's going to take too many sacks, he's going to get hit too many times, and he's going to throw too many picks regardless of how smart the guy is. And they've gotten out of balance. And part of that for me is four different former offensive coordinators. There comes a time when you feel like, man, are you calling the game for what you've said, which is we've got to support our quarterback, we've got to run the ball, we've got to be balanced, we've got to set up the play action? Or are you a vanity play caller because you see a lot of places that are going to be head coaches, opportunities for you to become a head coach? And are you trying to make a kid do something that he can't do in order, so you can say, hey, look what I did with this 7th rounder, and look at the numbers he put up, and now I'm going to become a head coach. And it is completely backfired because Trevor Siemian got beat to a pulp to the point where when you have to check your progression is, hey, check the dude over left tackle, now check the dude over right tackle, now go through your progression. You're never going to have success, and it's unfortunate. We talk about it all the time here in Denver. Hey, we're going to run the ball, we're going to set up the play action. Really, Buffalo, in a game you had the lead in, you threw it 46 times, then the next week you threw it 50 times, and then you've been 37, 40. It just is. It's counterintuitive, and it's exactly the opposite of what you've said all along, and so it's disappointing. The personnel isn't as good as we thought it might be, and the play calling has been shoddy at best. The coaching's been shoddy at best, and it's a disappointing season here in Denver. But, I think to answer your question, none of those guys are going to be starting at the quarterback position next year.
Mark Schlereth with us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. So, okay, now let's get the football out of the way, and we'll work our way over to just a little reminiscing over the course of something in the neighborhood of 15 years.
Yeah.
Mark Schlereth probably hosted this show more times than anyone besides one of us.
Right.
Hosted it with me, hosted it with the two of us for years, and at one time was most famously known on this show and from his role in the soap opera as Rock Hoover. So one last time, let's hear this.
The writing there is just incredible.
Wasn't that genius, Stink?
Yeah.
It was. That was absolutely unbelievable. I haven't heard that in forever. And, the whole nickname, Rock Hoover, for the Guiding Light came from that show. We nicknamed me on the show one morning, and then the folks from the Guiding Light ended up putting it in the script, Rock Hoover. And so that name, very much like my name as a grandfather, Popo, was also created on your guys' show. Like everything I did was created on your guys' show, and they've all stuck. It's like the nickname thing. Once you get dubbed with a nickname like Stink, there's no going back. You just have to embrace it and move forward. So yeah, Rock Hoover was the brain trust of yours truly on your program, and that's how that whole thing happened.
Among the other things that I will remember fondly forever were you always had these fascinating expressions. You had this way of summing things up, and the one that I remember the most vividly was, you can go to sleep in a bale of hay, but you're going to wake up itchy. Am I getting that one right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know where that came from. There's a lot of things floating around in my head that just fall out that you go like, I don't know exactly where that came from, and I don't remember the context we used that in, but yeah, absolutely. That still rings true today, man. It's like my dad used to say to me all the time when I was a kid, there's no right way to do something wrong. And it always resonated with me. It was always kind of indelibly marked, in the forefront of my brain. So every time I wanted to get over, every time I wanted to do something and take a shortcut, I always heard my dad's voice ringing in my head, hey, Mark, there's no right way to do something wrong. And yeah, you can't wait. You can't go to bed in a bale of hay, but you're going to wake up itchy. That's just there's a guarantee there for you.
You know what it is, though? What time does, it gives you wisdom, because you threw out all those gems on this show, and then you finally figured out, hey, let me put it on a shirt and sell it.
Yeah, that only took me 16 years to figure that out. I'm not real bright. It takes me a while.
Mike and Mark Schlereth. The guys are telling me they want to hear the toughness story one last time. All right. So one of my favorite memories, and this is when we were doing the show. What is the building on the other side of the cafeteria? The one that we used to do the show when we were like temporarily in there.
Building 5.
Building 5. And that was, parenthetically, that was the one that we used to run out during one of our longest breaks to the cafeteria, you and I.
Yes, we
And
would.
one time you pulled you fell down and hurt your hip or something.
I did.
All of a sudden, I'm behind. I hear Golic go, I got a hip, and you're done.
I fell down.
But anyway, so Stink and I are doing the show together. And I've always been fascinated by his toughness. Like, Stink is a tough man. Like, he's got the porcelain skin of a China doll.
Yes.
He's the handsomest person you've ever seen in your life. But he is tough. And so we walk into the men's room during a break one time, and I said to him, Stink, I've never been tough. What's it like to be tough? And he goes, Greeny, I will tell you right now. I will tell you exactly what it is to be tough. And he walks up to the urinal, and the pants go down to the ankles, and the shorts go down to the ankles. And he turns to me and he says, anyone in this building could walk in here right now, and they're not going to say a damn thing. And I said, that is the best explanation I've ever heard in my life, because he's 100% right. If I'd walked in, I'd have been like, hey, Stink, nice butt, good to see you. How are you? If I do that, forget about it. So that Stink was a moment I will never forget.
Yeah, some of the fun we had and some of the idiotic things I do, it was always fun, and being with you guys has just been a blessing for me. Being a part of your program forever has been a blessing to me and to my family, and you guys are dear friends. And some of the best moments, that I've had in my broadcasting career happened on your show, and just from moments like that to milking a cow and the cow took a dump on you, Green, still one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me in my career. The whole thing has been awesome, and I owe you guys a debt of gratitude, and I just really appreciate the friendship and appreciate all the years, man. We did that show together, 16 years at ESPN. 15 years, and it started, you remember, in Building 5, it started every Friday. I'd be on for all 4 hours, and we're just doinking around in that little tiny studio, having a blast, talking football, and it's just been, like I said, it's been a true blessing. It's been so much fun.
Listen, and any success this show has had, you have been a big part of it. There's no doubt about that, and we will never forget that as we move on from this, and you've moved on and now and doing a great job in the booth for Fox. So we'll have some great memories, no doubt about it, and friendships to last. So we certainly do appreciate it.
Yeah,
Mark.
to you and Lisa and Alex and Avery and Daniel and the whole family. Popo, we love you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Stink.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, guys, I love you too, man. You've truly blessed me, so I appreciate you guys. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon.
All right, you got
thanks,
it.
Stink.
We'll see you soon. Mark Schlereth with us after all these years. He is such a good guy.
He is a good guy, yes.
And that story is one that is so indelibly burned into my brain because, what can you say? It was just
he's had great stories like that
when
he pees his pants on the sideline, which a number of offensive linemen do, but when he had to actually go in after peeing his pants, go back in the game. And
the legendary bang your helmet thing I forgot about. Remember the time?
Yeah.
Who was the kicker? The idiot kicker who got liquored up, as Peyton called him.
We should have that.
Mike Vanderjagt, and he got mad. Yeah, Stink just went crazy.
Yeah.
And then remember, Stink was mad. I mean, now I'm remembering all these things. He was mad that he didn't have a sponsor. So Joaquin came up with a sponsor called Scrote.
Yes.
Do you remember that? and we can't tell the punchline of the story because we were only allowed to air that once.
No, we can't. That's all. Yeah.
Once it aired, we were told never to air it again.
Don't air that again.
But it was very funny.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Okay, I mentioned that we got the good college hoops tonight. Michigan State and Duke leads it off, number 1 against number 2. And, of course, the Michigan State coach is Tom Izzo, who has been a great friend to us over many years. I know that he's constantly texting you mad things at me.
Yes, he is. He does it a lot.
He's angry at me every other day. But who else? Who isn't? But anyway, we had a chance to chat with him yesterday about tonight's game and just to reminisce. Enjoy. All right, coming up 7 Eastern on ESPN as the college basketball season is underway. You can't ask for any better than this. Number 1 against number 2. It's Duke against Michigan State. And here to chat is our longtime friend of the show, the beloved Tom Izzo, head coach of the Spartans, back with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Coach.
The only beloved is my wife, and that's only sometimes, so I don't know where the beloved came. But thanks, guys. It's great to be on. Great day for us, and I don't know if it's as great a day for you guys. My son and I grew up watching you, And Mike Golic, I saw a picture today of you on the set with your family that you sent. My God, that means I grew as old as you did. That's scary.
That really is. That was from 1998. We're gonna recreate that one on Friday and leave it to you. Such a friend of the show. We love you, and so we were trying to have our shine all week, and here you go doing 1 against 2. In this game to kind of take the spotlight off of us. Really appreciate that.
No, we're adding to it. Hopefully you guys will do a lot on it. That's all we're looking for. But we're going back to your adopted city, Greeny, and Chicago has been a great place, and it'll be an incredible, electrifying crowd there with all the alums from all the 4 schools.
Let's talk about what you get out of early season games like this. We've talked about it a lot as we're coming to the end of the college football season, and how much weight we should put on early season games because the teams were still figuring out who they were and all of that. How about in your sport? What do you get out of a game like this against a team like Duke?
Well, I think that we get a lot out of it. The problem with basketball, it's even different than football, and I know Mike Greenberg and I are kind of struggling today because both our teams got beat this weekend. But, I think in basketball, everybody's so young, it seems like, I mean, it can happen in football, but not to the level it does in basketball. So I think what it does more than anything is it kind of shows you how hard you got to play, whether you win or lose, and it shows you what your warts are, and it gives you something to work for. The advantage of basketball over football is, these 1 or 2 losses doesn't cripple you like it does in football. If you lose them, if you win them, then you kind of got to build on what you've done and keep your guys level-headed.
So in this situation, though, in your opener that you already played against North Florida, you had your 5 starters were all freshmen and sophomores. So are you the type of coach, because I've certainly had this done to me over years, if you get a win in this game, you kind of mute it, to use your word, and kind of maybe be extra critical just so, they don't get a little too big-headed? You kind of keep them down?
Well, yeah, that's when you Nick Saban and make sure that there's not a lot of noise out there in the media isn't saying how good we are. But, hopefully, even though we're really young, we got the 4 sophomores and a freshman starter, but we've been through some stuff with those sophomores last year, struggled to get into the tournament, I think partly because of all the injuries. So they know the other side of the coin, They know what it's like to be there was a lot of humility for our program last year in some of the games we lost. So I'm hoping that they're going to handle it either way, but I think the big thing is our motto's been this year, can we get better every day? Hey, we might be pretty good and lose. We might be pretty good and win, but can we get better every day? Because especially in basketball, the goal is to get to be great in March.
Coach, because we have you here, and you're well aware it's our last week together, one of the things we wanted to do is just take a moment to reminisce. You have been such a great friend to both of us over all of these years, always so much fun. And as I think back on my favorite memory over all the years, there was the year that you had a huge game against Duke, ironically, that was set up in the NCAA tournament that was going to decide the bracket wager between Golic and me, and you came out and you told us that your son picked Duke in that game, and that to me remains one of the funniest moments we've ever had in the history of the show.
Yeah, funny to you. My son was right. It hasn't been funny to me, and it definitely hasn't been funny to him since that thing. He's still looking to eat his first meal. But, guys, I got to admit, I'm going to miss both of you. I wish you both luck in the way you're doing it. But when I say I grew up, more importantly, my son did grow up with all those 6:30 in the morning, lay in bed with Dad and watch Mike, and you guys have brought so much to the sporting world, and I humbly say I appreciate everything you've done and the way you've done it. And if I can get you, Greeny, to get and make sure that Twitter isn't the most important invention in the world, because that would be my thing that I remember most about you, then we're going to have a better place out here, all right?
Oh, I love that.
How many times has he yelled at me? How many times has Tom Izzo yelled at me?
Yes, he has.
About social media.
It's been, and God, we love having you on the show, and we'll look to continue on each of our shows to have you on as well. But, what about you? 23 years at Michigan State. You're in the Basketball Hall of Fame. You won a national championship. What do you look to still accomplish? What is there for Tom Izzo?
Oh, God, guys, there's so much to accomplish. Just my opponent tonight, and Duke, I mean, every time I think I've done something. He got 1,000 wins the other night at Duke. If I count my wins in games, in practices, and in intramurals and anything else that I don't have 1,000 wins, and he's got them all at one school is just incredible. So there's always people that you look at, my good friend Nick Saban, what he's accomplished. There's so many things yet to do, and I'm just lucky I still get a chance to do it, but I'm still excited about it. The drive's still there, and we got a good team, but there's a lot of good teams out there, and that's what makes tonight so exciting. Just like for you guys, you're going to have different years now, but I bet you both of you are very successful because of the jobs you've done over these years.
Well, that's so nice of you to say. And listen, again, we can't thank you enough for all the years and all the fun, and it will continue. But it seems like the right time. Good luck in this game, and good luck with a terrific season. Hopefully we'll see you in the Final Four, if not before. Thank you very much for everything, Tom Izzo.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Greeny, let me ask you this, because we played Notre Dame for only the second time in basketball in 30 years this year. Would you set up the bet between me and Golic so that he has to eat, fire-breathing dragons or something good with Jamal or something on that night? Would you do that for me?
Come on, let's do it.
No.
You got a pie in the face from Magic Johnson?
I gotta see how we're playing first.
I'll put a word in. We'll see what we can do. Thank you,
Coach.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, guys.
Love that man.
He's a great guy. That was Tom Izzo. We recorded that yesterday. And again, big night tonight. It's number 1 Duke and number 2 Michigan State in the State Farm Champions Classic, Kentucky and Kansas in the later game. And it's all on the ESPN and the ESPN app.
He was a guy, listen, you just didn't bet against when they were in the tournament. I always had them going pretty darn far each time because, man, he was money. When you needed it, he was money.
He is a great coach, and he's a great person.
He is.
We have both gotten to know him a little bit off the air, and he's everything good. I remember when there was a flirtation, and I don't know that it was on his part, but the pro teams have gone after him heavily, particularly Cleveland went after him heavily. And I said the same thing about him that I said about Mike Krzyzewski. The world is a better place with those guys coaching in college.
Yep.
We need that. We need Tom Izzo's in college. We need Mike Krzyzewski's in college and those kinds of guys.
And, again, staying at the one spot. There is something to that. I mentioned it yesterday, with Tennessee opening up and Florida opening up, what coaches move around. I brought up a guy like Bill Snyder, who is an icon.
Mm-hmm.
He's, as I said, in Kansas State, when my son just did that game, you drive to the stadium on a road named after him. You look at a statue of him there, and you're playing a stadium with his name on it. He chose to stay there and is a living icon to that place and what he's done. I mean, it's just good for college when you see that.
And he was elevated. I mean, he wasn't a guy who came from someplace else. He was Judd Heathcote's assistant. And Heathcote was the guy who legendarily coached Magic and that championship team and everything else.
Yep.
And so he had a lot of success, but Izzo has taken it to an entirely new level.
Absolutely has.
The Michigan State basketball, with the exception of the Johnson and Kelser, that team, and they had other really good teams, but Tom Izzo has made them a national, year in, year out national powerhouse in an entirely different way. And I think he's been in as many Final Fours as just about anybody besides Coach K. Okay, Mike and Mike, on we go with the news of the day, and we'll mix in a little more fun. Mark Cuban later today to reminisce with us a little bit. Louis Riddick will join us. Bomani Jones will join us. A busy Monday. Excuse me. It was a really busy Monday yesterday.
It was. Now it's Tuesday.
Now it's Tuesday.
That's how it works.
Kind of working badly.
Just say something that ends in a Y. You'll be close.
Okay.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Our pleasure to welcome Smooth Lou into the studio, Louis Riddick. And you should know, Louis, last week, sitting in that chair, Ryan Clark described you, and I'm quoting this.
He did?
As the Black James Bond. That's what he said. And when I saw it, when I thought about it, I thought, you know what? Kind of works. Kind of works.
I thought Idris Elba was supposed to be the next Black James
I think so.
Bond. He's a smooth brother now.
I'm a big fan of his.
I follow him on Twitter. I'm like a groupie for Idris Elba now.
I'm with you.
Dude is legit.
Yeah,
I'm merely quoting. I'm quoting your friend and
you know what? Hey, Clark,
if
you're watching this or sleeping somewhere or trying to undo all them bracelets on your wrist, I appreciate it, bro. Yeah. Does anybody wear more than him?
Have some on there. Yeah.
I mean, man.
I think this was the day after Halloween, and I had commented that I had seen you guys in your costumes, and you were very serious in yours, it seemed.
You know what? I think it was just like the helmet made me look that way, but I kind of was kind of getting into it.
I was amazed how I could hear you guys talk because you both had masks.
Hey, I was
on.
hyperventilating.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, I was getting.
You were Iron Man, and he was the Hulk.
He was
right?
the Hulk.
Yeah.
He had some issues getting that mask right, but
he's got
it was
issues,
good.
So we know.
Speaking of superheroes, Cam Newton was at it again last night, and so let's start our football conversation there. And you made a comment that you think he just looks different than he did at any time last year.
Yeah, he's healthy now. And now, even though, all offseason, the whole plan was really, theoretically, get the ball to Christian McCaffrey, get the ball to Greg Olsen, even though he's hurt, and he's coming back. Get the ball quickly into our playmakers' hands. Curtis Samuel, who got hurt again last night as well, and kind of take some of the pressure off of Cam. But this offense, really, it's at its best when Cam is the focal point, and then everyone else is kind of secondary from there. And last night, look, Coach Gruden said it a couple times on the broadcast. He said that the Miami Dolphins coaching staff was worried about him getting comfortable because Cam starts smiling and Cam starts running, you know how that goes. I mean, he's very much so a momentum player. And once he started getting things going, look, Miami was done, man. You saw him. You saw how he was showboating them, and it all just runs through him. And now, if last night was an indication of how he's really feeling about the season, then the rest of the NFC, look out, because Carolina may be back now for real.
95 yards rushing on 5 carries, all designed runs. And we were talking about this earlier, Lou, and I was saying, I know people wanted to protect Cam a little more, make him throw from the pocket a little more, be a little safer because we know the hits he takes and doesn't get the flags for him. My thought is he's got to play how he plays.
That's
I mean,
right.
he, no matter if it – because one thing we say is one thing you don't say about a running quarterback is a long career, rarely. Mm-hmm. But Cam's got to be Cam. You can't really harness him too much.
Yeah, you would like for him to develop his pocket game to the point where that's where, people – are then willing to elevate him into the status of the greats, because that's where all the greats really are. That's what most of them are. They're pocket passers at some point in time. And like Russell has become a little bit of that, although Russell's always going to be what he is, which is a great athlete who's going to also be able to extend plays. But you're right. You're absolutely right. If Carolina wants to win, let him go. Just let him go and take the risk.
Right.
If you want to try and force him into a box and try and save his career and see if he can tack on 4 or 5 years, then you're not going to win football games, because he's a momentum player. And when he gets rolling like that, it's beautiful to watch, but you just know you got to hold your breath every time, because as much as he tries to protect himself, he's such a big target. There's so much to hit. He's going to take some shots, and he may get hurt, but so be it.
Mike and Mike, Louis Riddick. So how good are they?
Well, with that defense and the way they are now pressuring people from a schematic perspective, they're going to put the heat on you that way. They're good on special teams. And if the offensive line can continue to gel and Jonathan Stewart continues running the football and the young receivers will develop and Greg Olsen gets back, they're legit contenders for the NFC title. Cam has to stay hot. Cam has to stay on it, because it all flows through him. It makes the NFC all the more interesting, much more interesting, I believe, than the AFC.
Diving into the weeds a little bit, because I always feel like I should, because he gets a lot of it anyway. Praise Luke Kuechly and what he does since he's come into the league. He's a leading tackler in the years he's been in the league. But Lou, just to watch him, and I remember my son saying this when he played against him at Boston College, when my son was playing O-line, I think center that year that he played him, and said Luke would sit there and call out the plays and then get mad because his teammates wouldn't be able to, make the tackles. You watch him. I mean, for people that really love to get down in the weeds, watch Luke Kuechly before a play. Watch him pointing. Watch him talking to his teammates almost all the way to the snap. It's something to behold how smart this guy is and how he dissects plays. We always talk about the quarterback getting a pre-snap read. I don't know if there's anybody better than Luke Kuechly doing pre-snap reads to get himself and his players in the right position.
From a mental standpoint, outside of quarterback, linebacker is the most taxing that there is, because of the conflict that you're in every play as far as run pass. And you're right. Those guys have to be smart. You can't have dumb linebackers and have top-level linebackers. Those guys have to anticipate as much as anybody. And I remember in Cleveland when we used to have signal caller meetings on Monday and Tuesday where the middle linebackers, the guys who were calling the signals, and the safeties just always have to get together. And Pepper Johnson was our middle linebacker then in Cleveland. And the stuff that he knew, the way he was able to give you a jump on the play, and the way he was able to communicate with the front seven, I mean, it's something like I've never seen. And Luke is just like that, without a doubt. And, he's not the only one on that football team who's like that. Thomas Davis is one of the best linebackers, I think, to ever play in this game that just doesn't get the credit. But, look, Luke is special. That team is about as blue-collar as it gets. Yeah. Carolina's never the flashy team, the big stats team, but they are the blue-collar team that will absolutely just knock your teeth out. And it's good to see them put a whooping on a team like Miami last night, who really needs to find out what they're all about because they're on two different planes right now.
Mike and Mike, Lewis Riddick is here with us with the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contract. So that's the good side of last night.
Yeah.
Then there's the bad. The Dolphins fall to 4-5. Remarkably, they've been outscored this season by 87 points. That's a worse differential than the 49ers have, and the 49ers are 1-9. Mm-hmm. So while they've won some games, they've generally been bad. What are you seeing as you watch them play?
I was just saying this before we came on. Look, I do hate to start venturing into the area of question guys' competitive makeup. I do, because it's hard. There's no way to really measure it. But there's enough evidence that when you watch tape and if you've played the game, you understand when a guy lacks talent, and then you also understand when a guy just does not pass the eye test as far as how hard they're playing. Because I was one of those people, and I believe you were one of those people too, who survived in the league because of how hard you played. Because there was other guys who I used to sit and watch and go, man, I'm not that fast.
Oh, yeah.
I can't cover like that, but I'm smart, and I absolutely will try and break your face off when I try and hit you. And that's how I survived in the league. And when you watch guys who are so talented, standing up at the point of attack, getting their shoulders turned, not chasing the football, and you just see their body language, you know it when they may not be quitting, but they're damn sure not trying. They're not trying the way that they should be relative to what they're getting paid. And who's Adam Gase going to cut now? Who's he going to suspend now? Who's he going to sit down now? When you have too many of those guys, you're done. And Miami, in the NFL, this is not Oklahoma versus Kansas 1980. You shouldn't be getting the ball run on you for almost 300 yards and having 500 yards of total up. This is the NFL. This isn't college. When that happens, there's a problem on your team the way it's put together. There's a problem in Miami with the way a team's put together.
There's a problem there, and there's a problem in New York that became public with the anonymous talk, and then players, their own teammates of these anonymous players, calling their own teammates coward for being anonymous. Then you have the coach and McAdoo saying things as well. So take it from two sides, because we can with you as a player in that locker room. Then when you were in management, how you deal with something like that from both sides. Start first as a player, as a teammate in the locker room.
Yeah, you know what? One of those things, that's where now, I mean, you know that the best teams are policed from the inside out. You hope that there's some kind of leadership structure within the locker room that right now can kind of really identify really who those guys are and what the issue is, and kind of reinforce the message, because this isn't like college or high school where what are you going to do? You're going to fight the guy,
right?
You're going to take him outside and whoop him and say, look, you better start trying. You have to kind of tell him, look, if this coaching staff is not here, if you don't want to play for this coaching staff, guess what? Management, who may be here or may not be here, or whoever's going to come in here, they're going to see this stuff. So you may think you're sending a message to your coach now that you don't like him. They're going to send you down the road, man. That's the NFL. There is no more patience in the NFL anymore. With the way people are turning things around so fast, new coaches come in, and all of a sudden you go from worst to first, you're out of here. So you hope that the leadership structure communicates that. From a management perspective, look, quite honestly, when you have guys who display that kind of lack of competitive character, it's your fault. Somewhere along the way, you misevaluated something. And so you're kind of a passenger now. There's no in personnel, there's nothing you can do at this point. Your work is January, February, March, April, when you're going Senior Bowl, Combine, Draft, Pro Days. That's when you do your work. Right now, you're kind of looking at the fruits of your labor, and you're going, maybe I messed it up. Maybe I picked the wrong guys.
That's such a fascinating way of looking at it. And let me ask you this, because that's a team that much of it was thrown together. Yeah. So there are a lot of teams that they acquired a bunch of their players through the draft, and they've been together a long time, and maybe those guys will have the ups and the downs together. The Giants went out, not this past offseason, but the one before, and they brought in a lot of guys. They spent a lot of money on people who are essentially strangers to each other. So when everything was going well, like it was last year, that's all good. things start going in the wrong direction and you don't have those relationships for them to fall back on.
That is a great point. That is the danger of comprising your football team mainly of free agents, because what they are, they're hired help necessarily. They don't, and the analogy I always use, because I heard this was told to me once, is when you draft players, these guys are it's almost like a college atmosphere. You come in the same class, the same draft class. If that's the only team that you know, you're very much so invested. You bleed that color. This is my football team. It's kind of like if I go to the University of Pittsburgh or you go to Notre Dame, you're always a Fighting Irish. That's always your school. When the team that drafts you, if you stay there a while with your draft class, this is my team. Yeah, I'm getting paid. Yes, this is the pros, but this is my team. So when things start going bad, then you start talking about this is not how the Eagles play. This is not how the Browns play. This is not who we are. But when you're free agent, I've been a part of teams that have been comprised that way from the front office perspective. And all of a sudden, those guys just splinter and fracture. And all of a sudden, then it's just about, hey, let me just refresh my app and make sure my direct deposit's hitting. Because I'm out of here. And when the team meeting starts at 9 o'clock, I'm walking in at 8:59. I'm not down in the weight room trying to get in some extra. They don't invest the same way. Why do you think everybody emphasizes the draft the way they do? Because that builds that camaraderie and that togetherness. Free agency, it's dangerous when you have too many of them, and I think you're seeing that now.
Man, that is a great point, and that's the part that people don't see. When you used to get that lift in before the meeting, and all of a sudden you don't.
Yep.
When you used to watch a little bit of extra film, and we got the fellas in it to watch a little extra film after practice when you came in, and all of a sudden you don't. Those are the little things that add up on the field and start to splinter as well. That is a great point.
Well, I was going to ask one more on the Giants, just because I think the most interesting thing, and Golic, you brought it up earlier, I think it was this morning or maybe yesterday, certainly everyone is talking about it, because this season is hopelessly lost, and there will be significant change there, and we expect it to happen both on the sideline and maybe in the front office. But how about at the quarterback position? As you evaluate that situation with Eli at his age and everything else, what is your best guess as to how that's going to play itself out?
That's a tough one. It really is, because when you start venturing into the area of what is the next best thing for us, if it's not Eli, then you better have a great answer. You better have a great answer, because right now, look, Eli is still capable of winning games in the NFL and winning them in double-digit numbers. He has no help anymore. His guys are gone. This is not the Giants of the late 2000s where guys like Sean O'Hara and Chris Snee and those guys are there, and Tiki's running the ball, and Brandon Jacobs is running the ball, and Ahmad Bradshaw. It doesn't even have the same character or feel to this football team. And I don't think Eli was ever a guy who could, on a long-term basis, just put a team on his shoulders like his brother could and just make it about him. It was always about the group with him, and then he would get hot at certain moments, and next thing you know, he's winning Super Bowls, which is fine. He's made a heck of a lot of money. He's had a great career. But if you're going to start talking about sending him down the road, you better have a pretty good answer. And right now, I mean, you don't even know who's going to be picking who would be the next quarterback there. You don't even know what the philosophical direction of this franchise is going to be in a couple of months. So I have no idea what the quarterback position looks like for New York.
Well, let's stay on the quarterback position. Let's go to a team. We thought at one point, I know a lot of us did, thought they'd get 3 teams from the AFC West in the playoffs. You get the division winner and then the 2 wild cards. One of those teams that has really spit the bit has been the Denver Broncos. Mm-hmm. So we asked this to Mark Schlereth earlier. Well, I'll ask it of you. When next season rolls around, are any of those quarterbacks, A, on the roster and B, starting, or is it someone completely
Well, I think Paxton's on the roster, but look, I was never a big Paxton Lynch fan, and that's not to be disrespectful. I just don't think
I was with you.
I just don't think that's the franchise. So I think now John has to go back to square one. Maybe he doesn't think he has to, but from the outside looking in, I'm thinking that position is that's priority number one. Get the offensive line squared away. C.J. Anderson is a good enough running back to win with. Get some blockers up front, solidify that team.
And they tried. They got Leary in free agency. They got Bowles in the draft.
And you know what?
They're trying there.
And you know what's interesting about that? It's like when people say Ryan Grigson never really tried to build an offensive line. Oh, he tried. It just didn't work. They've tried in Denver. It just hasn't worked. So they're going to have to keep trying. But I don't think their quarterback of the future is on the roster. Not at all. Not at all.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Now you can test drive Snapshot even if you have insurance with another company. See how much you can save before you switch. How much have you, in your current role, obviously you were for a long time, for those who don't know, a front office guy, and so you would be very much in touch with scouting and all of that, and you will be sitting there when we get to the draft for us at ESPN. But right now, it feels like this quarterback class, the guys that are going to be coming in this year, where the Giants will have a high pick and a lot of these other teams will, this was going to be like 83 all over again. This was going to be John Elway and Dan Marino and Jim Kelly all over again, and it feels like a little bit of the enthusiasm for that has waned.
Yeah.
What is your sense of that, and how does it go from that feeling at the end of December to where we get in April, where you just know everyone is going to be killing themselves to try and draft one of these guys?
Well, I think it's because that, right now everyone, no one really wants to put themselves out there right now as far as how they really feel about people. They want to kind of gather the data, so to speak, and wait until it gets a little bit closer and kind of see where the consensus is, and then people will kind of weigh in strongly one way or another. That's just the way it goes in scouting. No one wants to be out in front. People kind of want to see where the momentum's heading, and I like that guy too. I think the thing, though, about quarterback in general, and I think you've seen this over the past couple of years, is what you think you may know about what may transfer to the NFL, a lot of times you really don't know. Because last year, no one really thought people liked Deshaun Watson. No one thought he would rip up the league the way he started to. People liked Patrick Mahomes. They were very enticed by his arm. No one thought he would look like he did in the preseason. And like I know how he's looking down there in practice right now, to when they take the kind of the car cover off of him, look out. He's going to blow this league up. The quarterback position has changed. What we thought was the prototypical franchise quarterback, I don't think is the prototypical franchise quarterback anymore. I think it looks much different now. I think very much so now the quarterback of the future may look more like Carson Wentz. It may look more like Deshaun Watson and less like Tom Brady and less like Drew Brees. It may not be the stoic pocket passer anymore. The game's changed. College offenses have changed. Pro offenses, the best pro offenses, are adapting. Outside of New England, where they don't run the zone read, everybody else is doing that kind of stuff. Everybody else has the mobile type of quarterback. So that's why now you're hearing momentum gather and build for a guy like Baker Mayfield. Whereas before, you didn't hear any of that.
You're right.
Now you are. Because why? Because people watch Russell Wilson and they go, we could win with that.
And the other guys, Darnold, Allen, Rosen, Rudolph,
sure.
They're all pocket guys.
That's right.
They're all, and Baker's the only one that kind of creates. Some think maybe that's the question, I guess. Can you rely on creating? That's why we always say, I guess it's just banged into our head. You got to have some fundamentals in the pocket.
Yeah.
You can't just rely on creating outside the pocket.
If you want to be a quarterback at the very highest level, and when you listen to the great Steve Young talk about it, who was the quintessence, I mean, he was the original, to me, the original multidimensional quarterback who has such a huge cerebral capacity to beat you in the pocket, but when he wanted to take off, he'll kill you that way too. If you want to be one of the greats, the all-time greats, you're going to have to stay in the pocket at some point in time and be able to dissect people. Right. If someone were to just put your feet in concrete, you have to be able to do it. But the days of saying a guy who runs around is a guy who – that's not the prototype, that's not true anymore. The prototype is changing. The prototype is very much so fluid now, which I think opens the door up at the quarterback position in a way that we didn't want to open it up before. Before it was like the position's in trouble. There aren't a lot of pocket passers. There aren't many guys who look like Dan Marino. Right. It doesn't look like that anymore. So I think that makes it more exciting, and it makes quarterback evaluation very intriguing going into this draft.
I think that's really interesting. Yeah. If you think about it, you got a guy like Deshaun Watson, who, as you mentioned, he maybe should still be the rookie of the year, even playing 4 games or whatever it was. Yep. But he kind of looks a little bit more like. Looks a little bit more like Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers is sort of that's what he is, right? Rodgers is the guy. He'll kill you from the pocket, but then he brings multiple other dimensions to it. And he doesn't have the propensity to take the big hit, although obviously we say that right now while he's out basically for the season with a shoulder. Well, Lewis, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate you doing this. And I had a late night last night.
I'm going to say this. I wanted to make sure I said this to you guys. You know, when you start working here, it's funny. You get a schedule, and you look at it, and you see what shows you're on, and you kind of start gauging, like, where do I stand in the hierarchy as far as, on-air talent. For me, one of the biggest moments for me was when I saw that I was going to be on Mike and Mike, and this is a true story. I said, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit of credit around here. I'm starting to get some respect. And I did the show with you one time, and this is when we were over in the old studio. Yeah. This, to me, look, this show, I don't think many people realize is on in many people's offices in the NFL, NBA. It's one of the first things people turn on. I used to listen to you guys every morning, whether it was in my car driving in, put it on when I got in my office, and then when you were in the league, when I got here and met you guys, I was like, okay, this is what it's all about. So you guys have had a great career. You're going to continue to have a great career. I plan on having a relationship with you. I'm still going to be here. You guys are still going to be here. So I just wanted to make sure I got a chance to come in here and say, you were the standard for me as far as my broadcasting career, as young as it is. When I finally got to be on your show, I was like, okay, I'm doing something. Because this is a great show, and I respect the heck out of you guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, we appreciate that.
That's
and
very
obviously
nice
you'll
of you
still
to
be
say.
on both our shows
That's right.
as well going forward. And
Yeah.
see, I told you when your name came up, Greeny said, I don't want him on the show.
Yeah,
you know,
he?
he doesn't, yeah,
I knew it.
I don't know. I
That's
hate
cool.
to bring that up here.
That's
but-
all right.
I said, can't you get me Theo Riddick?
Yeah. Who the heck is – yeah. Well, thank you
very
anyway.
much. That's
thank
very
you.
nice of you to say.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
You
It's been
bet.
great fun, and it will continue to be.
All right.
The best of Mike and Mike.
All right. I made the comment earlier this morning as we wrap up what has been 18 years together. There aren't that many people who last 18 years in sports because it's just not that kind of a business. And one of those who has been maybe the most consistently interesting through all of that period of time joins us now. The owner of the Dallas Mavericks, Mark Cuban, is back with us on Mike and Mike. Good morning, Mark.
What's up, guys? So you're saying we're all old?
Pretty much, man. I mean, hearing some of the stories of people of how long they'd listened to us. I was in middle school and I started listening to you. Now I'm 27, married with a kid. We're like, oh, my God, how old are we? It's an unreal.
I know. Isn't it crazy? I mean, I hear those same stories. My dad took me to my first Mavs game when you bought the team, and I was 5. I was like, come on, man.
I remember one time you came here very early in your tenure, and you were a guest on SportsCenter, and I was the host, and we were walking around ESPN together, and I learned a lot of stuff about the business of it from that. And so let's talk about that. It feels like we are in a golden age of the NBA right now on so many different levels. It feels as though from the star caliber of the players, the relationship, if you will, between the league and the players, so clearly distinct from what we're seeing in the National Football League, where it feels as though the ownership, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, sort of embrace how public the players are in the issues that are important to them. How would you describe where we sit right now with this league?
I think the NBA has been brilliant. It started with David Stern and his first Twitter account and leveraging social media. You know, where other sports, I think, have kind of downplayed the value of the individual player, we've amplified it. We've really tried to get our players to embrace and use and accelerate our business with their social media accounts and their own personal brands. And so it's been symbiotic. So as any given player, Dirk's social media brand grew, LeBron, Steph, etc., so does the NBA. And I think that's where we've been unique. If you look at the social media presence of our players individually, starting at the bottom up rather than the top down, you'll see it's much more significant than any other league, and I think that's paid off huge dividends for us.
It's a great point. Was there a tipping point? Was there a point in the NFL now where we see the between the league and the players and some of the things going on? Did you guys have to work through that? Were there things that maybe we didn't see publicly that players and the league had to kind of work out as you were going through that social media thing?
I mean, if you go back to the early days of Twitter where, you know, guys would be up late at night thinking they were sending a private message and it'd come out as a public tweet and everybody talk about how they were hacked, you know, and there was all kinds of silly stuff. But that's just the growing pains of all social media. And so, yeah, we fell prey to that. And, look, we went through our tough times when there was the malice in the palace, you know, when people were talking about the league being too hip-hop. Those were challenging times for us, not because those people were right, but because they didn't understand who our players were, because our players didn't have a voice. Social media gave our players a voice, and our players took advantage of it. And so you got to know who each of these players are. And now you look to see what Steph or LeBron or even Dirk has to say when something happens. And that's made our league so much stronger. When, you know, because our players are unique and have their own individuality. And in any sports profession, you know, talent drives everything. If you compare that to the NFL with all the controversy right now, they don't have that platform. If the Dallas Cowboys or the Pittsburgh Steelers, my two teams, walked in front of me, I might be able to name, you know, 3 of them by seeing them. Otherwise, I'd have to introduce myself, and that's just a significant difference between us and other sports.
Mike and Mark Cuban, what do you make of all of that? I just mentioned your players are, it feels like, encouraged to be as public as they wish with the issues that are really important to them. It feels like right now that is the opposite in the National Football League, where they're having enormous issues from a business standpoint and otherwise. What is your take on that?
Well, going back to the social media and the lack of visibility of the NFL players, their only platform is when the cameras are on. and that's when their voice is the strongest. And so if they take a knee and everybody's watching for it, then whatever message they want to send, even though they can't control the narrative, they at least start a conversation. With us, LeBron James has 2 or 3 times as many Twitter followers as the president of the United States. When the cameras are on during any one given game, that's not a necessity for that. We don't have to talk there. We have better platforms to send a message. That's the difference between the two. And so I understand what the NFL players are doing and why they're doing it that way, and the NFL owners that just have a challenge in dealing with that.
How about on the court? The league, as we said, is in a great place. You've been in the headlines so much in the offseason where football usually takes charge, but the NBA was there. But on the court, and for you, it's a tough start this year for you, and we always talk about Golden State and where some of the other players have moved. But so for you, the frustration level of you trying to and getting Dennis Smith Jr., everybody loves this guy, so the building back up.
Yeah,
but
he's incredible.
To get back to the top where you want to be, all owners want to win, but, man, you certainly wear it on your sleeve. How frustrating are you into getting this team back?
You know what? I knew it was just a matter of time that we'd have to take a step back in order to go forward, and I didn't think it'd be this painful. Someone just came out and said, after the Spurs, we've had the fewest days in the loss column of any team in the NBA over the past 20 years. And so it's certainly new territory for us. But we think we're going to be able to turn around relatively quickly. We went from old last year to much younger this year, and our base being younger with Dennis, with Harrison, with Seth Curry, et cetera. We've just got a strong nucleus. So I think we're going to get back. And watching our games now, you can see where our youth has hurt us, and particularly Dennis is going to be phenomenal. But when you hand the keys to a 19-year-old, there's going to be challenges at the end of games, and we've lost some close ones at the end. But that happens now, but it pays dividends off in the long run. And hopefully, by the end of this year, we'll be on a roll, or next year we'll have it turned around.
Mark Cuban is with us. Another thing we were talking about this morning that you would have, I think, unique insight into is the dynamic. Right now there's an issue between Jerry Jones and Roger Goodell, and Jones is very upset. And I was making the comment that it's just a strange dynamic because at the end of the day, Goodell works for Jerry, but he can make decisions that Jerry doesn't like. And I go back to the earliest days of Mark Cuban's tenure in Dallas. I don't know if you know the exact number of dollars that David Stern fined you. But
no, it's in the millions.
It was in the millions. So can you sort of explain that dynamic when you hire him?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so on one hand, the commissioner is supposed to be a buffer because you've got 30 in the NBA and 32 owners that you've got a buffer as they compete against each other, buffer with the bigger picture because not your business interest as an individual team or as an individual might not always align with the league. That's the business side. On the competitive side, we all know as owners that, it takes some luck and it takes some happenstance to be at the top of the league. Whether it was the Mavs, whether it was the Cavs, whether it was the Heat, whether it's the Warriors, things have to go right. And that you have guys are going to age out, guys are going to get hurt. So you have this point in time, particularly in football where guys get hurt more often, where you've got to take advantage of the opportunity. It doesn't last forever. And Jerry Jones knows that, and I don't want to speak for him, I'm just telling from my perspective. Jerry knows that with Dak and with Zeke, he's got this moment in time that he's got to take advantage of. And because, one bad tackle and either one of them could be out and the entire future of the organization competitively changes. And so he's fighting to get his team on the field when he's got the opportunity to really be good and win a Super Bowl. And that's what puts them at head-to-head. Because Jerry's got to take advantage of this moment of time. He's got to fight for it no matter what. And I think all the fans respect and recognize that that's the case. Roger Goodell, on the other hand, has got to balance everything else out. And so I've been in situations where I've had other owners try to kick me out. I've had David Stern want me out, and other owners, came in and spoke positively for me. And Jerry's going through it right now. He doesn't like the way discipline is handled. He knows more than everybody about the circumstances behind Zeke in this situation. And, the NFL and Roger on the other side is trying to manage the NFL brand, the fact that there's issues in terms of domestic violence, the fact that there's issues in terms of CTE. Roger Goodell has got a very difficult job right now, and Jerry Jones wants to win. You know, he wants to get back to the Super Bowl for the first time in a long time, and that's what creates the tension.
And certainly with the NFL, while they make a ton of money, we've all just mentioned some of the things going on right now. One of the things you had mentioned, do you think it is coming to fruition that the oversaturation overall can hurt the product?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I talked about it, you know, a few years ago, and I think that's been the case. Look, I'm not saying the NFL is ready to implode today because of ratings. You know, TV ratings are down across the board, but there's just a lot of different circumstances that when you put them all together, I think the NFL is very challenged. I think, you know, getting to the top is hard. Staying at the top is even harder. And I think they took some things for granted, and it's backfiring on them now.
We always appreciate your time, and I always have to mention one of my favorite shows in Shark Tank. I just love that show.
I appreciate it.
How has it been with A-Rod on there? I mean, that's
he was great. I mean, honestly, and I've said this to Alex, I was a little bit concerned because I didn't know the depth of his business experience. We'd been friends for a few years, and we talked and had lunch, but we talked more about branding and talked, you know, about sports or whatever, and didn't really get into depth with his business. And when he came on the show, he just nailed it. He did a great job. And so I was really happy, and I think it came across in the episodes he's been on.
No, that's great. Fantastic show. Just love it. And love the time you spent with us, too, Mark. We really
Mark,
appreciate it.
over 18
and
years.
the same, guys.
Yeah.
And congratulations on a great run. It's, you know, like anything else, it goes by quickly, and then at the end, you always reminisce, and it's always tougher. So, you know, congrats on your run and everything you've been able to accomplish. It's always fun to come on the show. You're one of the few shows I'll travel for, getting me go to Fort Worth or wherever. So, you know, it's really been special to be part of it. So I thank you for that.
Thanks for everything,
appreciate
Mark.
it
Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. Mark Cuban, one of the most interesting people, whether we've always agreed or disagreed, he's always got something to say, and it's always worth hearing. And he did. He got up. I remember when the Super Bowl was in Fort Worth. That was the coldest I've ever been.
It was so cold. Yeah, he came out there for us. It was very nice of him to do, but, man, it was cold.